Eyebrow class. Today we're going to be reading another part of Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator. Remember in the last part of the story, the Cnid was around the Great Glass Elevator and they were all worrying and panicking, thinking that it was going to attack them. You are slimy and soggy and squishous, but what do we care? Because you can't get in here, so hop it and don't get ambitious. At this point, the massive Cnid outside turned and started cruising away from the elevator. "There you are," cried Mr. Wonka, triumphant. "It heard me. It's going home." But Mr. Wonka was wrong. When the creature was about 100 yards off, it stopped, hovered for a moment, then went smoothly into reverse, coming back towards the elevator with its rear end, which was the pointed end of the egg, now in front. Even going backwards, its acceleration was unbelievable. It was like some monstrous bullets coming at them, and it came so fast nobody had time even to cry out. Crash! It struck the glass elevator with the most enormous bang, and the whole thing shivered and shook, but the glass held and the Cnid bounced off like a rubber ball. "What did I tell you?" shouted Mr. Wonka, triumphant. "We're safe as sausages in here." "He'll have a nasty headache after that," said Grandpa Joe. "It's not his head, it's his bottom," said Charlie. "Look, there's a big bump coming up on the pointed end where he hit. It's going black and blue." And so it was. A purple bruisey bump the size of a small car was appearing on the pointed rear end of the giant Cnid. "Hello, you dirty great beast," cried Mr. Wonka. So you can see the pictures here of the Great Glass Elevator, and that's the Cnid with, you can see on the end, that bruise where he's hit. "Hello, you great Cnid. Tell us, how do you do? You're a rather strange colour today. Your bottom is purple and lavender blue. Shouldn't really be looking that way. Are you not feeling well? Are you going to faint? Is it something we cannot discuss? It must be a very unpleasant complaint, for your backside's as big as a bus. Let me get you a doctor. I know just the man for a Cnid with a nasty disease. He's a butcher by trade, which is not a bad plan, and he charges quite reasonable fees. Ah, here he is now. Doc, you really are kind to travel so far into space. There's your patient, the Cnid with the purple behind. Do you think it's a desperate case?" "Great heavens above, it's no wonder he's pale," said the doc with a horrible grin. "There's a sort of balloon on the end of his tail. I must prick it at once with a pin." So he got out a thing like an Indian spear with feathers all over the top, and he lunged and he caught the Cnid smack in the rear, but alas, the balloon didn't pop. Cried the Cnid, "What on earth am I going to do with this painful, preposterous lump?" Sorry guys, Miss Bailey's trying to grow her nails, so I'm finding it difficult to turn the pages at the minute. "I can't remain standing the whole summer through, and I cannot sit down on my rump. It's a bad case of rear ache," the medico said, "and it's something I cannot repair. If you want to sit down, you must sit on your head with your bottom high up in the air." Chapter 9, Gobbled Up. Wonder what's going to happen this time and what's going to get gobbled up. On the day when all this was happening, no factories opened anywhere in the world. All offices and schools were closed. Nobody moved away from the television screens, not even for a couple of minutes to get a Coke or to feed the baby. Attention was unbearable. Everybody heard the American president's invitation to the men from Mars to visit him in the White House, and they heard the weird rhyming reply which sounded rather threatening. They also heard a piercing scream, Grandma Josephine, and a little later on they heard someone shouting, "Scram, scram, scram!" Mr. Wonka. Nobody could make head or tail of the shouting. They took it to be some kind of Martian language. But when the 8 mysterious astronauts suddenly rushed back into their glass capsule and broke away from the space hotel, you could almost hear the great sigh of relief that rose up from the peoples of the earth. Telegrams and messages poured into the White House congratulating the president upon his brilliant handling of a frightening situation. The president himself remained calm and thoughtful. He sat at his desk rolling a small piece of wet chewing gum between his finger and thumb. Ugh. He was waiting for the moment when he could flick it at Miss Tibbs without her seeing him. He flicked it and missed Miss Tibbs, but hit the Chief of the Air Force on the tip of his nose. "Do you think the men from Mars have accepted my invitation to the White House?" the president asked. "Of course they have," said the Foreign Secretary. "It was a brilliant speech, sir." "They're probably on their way down here right now," said Miss Tibbs. "Go and wash that nasty sticky chewing gum off your fingers quickly. They could be here any minute." "Let's have a song first," said the president. "Sing another one about me, Nanny." please. And you can see here the President and Miss Tibbs singing. It's called The Nurse's Song. This mighty man of whom I sing, the greatest of them all, was once a teeny little thing, just 18 inches tall. I knew him as a tiny tot. I nursed him on my knee. I used to sit him on the pot and wait for him to weep. I always washed between his toes and cut his little nails. I brushed his hair and wiped his nose and weighed him on the scales. Through happy childhood days he strayed, as all nice children should. I smacked him when he disobeyed and stopped when he was good. It soon began to dawn on me he wasn't very bright, because when he was 23 he couldn't read all right. What shall we do, his parents sobbed. The boy has got the vapours. He couldn't even get a job delivering the papers. Aha, I said, this little clot could be a politician. Nanny, he cried. Oh, Nanny, what? A super proposition. OK, I said, let's learn and note the art of politics. Let's teach you how to miss the boat and how to drop some bricks and how to win the people's vote and lots of other tricks. Let's learn to make a speech a day upon the TV screen in which you never say exactly what you mean. And most important, by the way, is not to let your teeth decay and keep your fingers clean. And now that I am 89, it's too late to repent. The fault was mine, the little swine became the president. Bravo, Nanny, cried the President, clapping his hands. Hooray, shouted the others. Well done, Miss Vice President, Ma'am. Brilliant, tremendous. My goodness, said the President. Those men from Mars will be here any moment. What on earth are we going to give them for lunch? Where's my chief cook? The chief cook was a Frenchman. He was also a French spy, and at this moment he was listening at the keyhole of the President's study. Chief cook, said the President, what do men from Mars eat for lunch? Mars bars, said the chief cook. Baked or boiled? Asked the President. Oh, baked, of course, Monsieur le President. You will ruin a Mars bar by boiling. The voice of astronaut Shuckworth cut in over the loudspeaker in the President's study. Request permission to link up and go aboard Space Hotel, he said. Permission granted, said the President. Go right ahead, Shuckworth. It's all clear now, thanks to me. And so the large transport capsule, piloted by Shuckworth, Shanks and Schaller, with all of the hotel managers and assistant managers and hall porters and pastry chefs and bellboys and waitresses and chambermaids on board, moved in smoothly and linked up with the giant space hotel. Hey there, we've lost our television picture, called the President. I'm afraid the camera got smashed against the side of the space hotel, Mr. President, Shuckworth replied. The President said a very rude word into the microphone and 10 million children across the nation began repeating it gleefully and got smacked by their parents. All astronauts and 150 hotel staff safely aboard Space Hotel, Shuckworth reported over the radio. We are now standing in the lobby. And what do you think of it all? Asked the President. He knew the whole world was listening in and he wanted Shuckworth to say how wonderful it was. Shuckworth didn't let him down. Gee, Mr. President, it's just great, he said. It's unbelievable and it's so enormous and so... It's kind of hard to find words to describe it. It's so truly grand, especially the chandeliers and the carpets and all. I have the Chief Hotel Manager, Mr. Walter W. Wall, beside me now. He would like the honour of a word with you, sir. Put him on, said the President. Mr. President, sir, this is Walter Wall. What a sumptuous hotel this is. The decorations are superb. Have you noticed that all the carpets are wall to wall, Mr. Walter Wall? Said the President. I have indeed, Mr. President. All the wallpaper is all wall to wall too, Mr. Walter Wall. Yes, sir, Mr. President. Isn't that something? It's going to be a real pleasure running a beautiful hotel like this. Hey, what's going on over there? Something's coming out the lifts. Help! Suddenly, the loudspeaker in the President's study gave out a series of the most ghastly screams and yells. Hey, help! Hey, help! 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 What on earth's going on? Said the President. Shuckworth, are you there? Shuckworth, Shanks, Schaller, Mr. Walter Wall, where are you all? What's happening? The screams continued. They were so loud the President had to put his fingers in his ears. Every house in the world that had a television or radio receiver heard those awful screams. There were other noises too, loud grunts and snortings and crunching sounds. Then there was silence. Frantically, the President called the Space Hotel on the radio. Houston called the Space Hotel. The President called Houston. Houston called the President. Then both of them called the Space Hotel. Again. I hope you enjoyed that part of the story and we're going to read some more tomorrow.